Welcome everyone on this special occasion as we induct one of Australia's highest achieving table tennis administrators into the TTA Hall of Fame. The purpose of the TTA Hall of Fame is to recognise outstanding contributions made by individuals to the sport of table tennis. The eligibility requirements are deliberately strict, with the intention of making it very difficult to be inducted. Only the very best over a long period of time will be recognised. Today's inductee received unanimous endorsement from the Hall of Fame selection panel and the TTA board. I'm very pleased to announce that today's inductee into the TTA Hall of Fame is Steve Dainton. Steve's administrative career over the past 21 years has taken him to the highest echelon of international table tennis. Steve started his career with TTA, where in 1999 and 2000 he worked as a TTA scholarship coach. Steve then went on to work for ITTF Oceania as Oceania Development Officer. Between 2002 and 2005, Steve increased the number of national associations in Oceania, implemented the Oceania Development Program, which focused on coach education, increasing training and competition opportunities, provision of equipment, administrative assistance, and officiating education. Steve raised participation levels at continental events, including a then record 12 countries competing at the 2000 Oceania Championships. Steve secured training and competition opportunities for multiple Pacific Islands players, many of whom went on to compete at the Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, and became Pacific Games champions. Since 2005, Steve has worked for ITTF, holding multiple roles, including ITTF Asia Pacific Office Director for 5 years, ITTF Marketing Director for 7 years, and ITTF Chief Executive Officer for the past 3 years, which is the role he still holds today. Steve is the only Australian to reach the highest ITTF staff position. While working for ITTF, Steve has enjoyed many highlights, including leading the creation of the first ever ITTF strategic plan, increasing ITTF commercial revenue by more than 100% in less than 3 years, led a significant staff expansion from 30 to 80 employees, developed and established ITTF's new commercial vehicle, World Table Tennis, conceptualized the ITTF Foundation to further build on previous successful corporate social responsibility initiatives, initiated and implemented the Unified Korea Women's Team during the 2018 World Championships, where South Korea and North Korea combined to compete as a unified team against Japan in the semi-final, created marketing agreements with all continents to further build continental events, significantly expanded the reach of global TV coverage to cover all continents, led the Future Events Working Group to modernise the qualification and format of the World Championships. Steve has also led the ITTF through the current COVID-19 crisis, with table tennis being among the first sports to restart international competitions. On a personal note, Steve was my coach as a junior. Through Steve's guidance, I grew to love our great game, although I didn't realise it at the time, but this was a significant moment in shaping the direction of my life. Thank you, Steve. Congratulations on being one of the inaugural administrators inducted into the TTA Hall of Fame. You're a most worthy inductee.
Thank you very much, Scott, for the really nice words. And it's a really great pleasure and a real honor for me to be, firstly, even considered to be a nominee of the Hall of Fame as an administrator for Table Tennis Australia. And then to actually get the honor today. It's a really proud day for me. And yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to Table Tennis Australia, to your president there, Mr. Graham Simmons, and of course to yourself, Scott Houston, and firstly for all the great work and initiative you've done over the last couple of years. And yeah, I would say it's a bit of a surprise to me to get this honor at what I hope is a relatively early time in my career. I still hope I have a lot to achieve. I still hope I have a lot to help Australian table tennis in the future in my role as the CEO of the International Table Tennis Federation at the moment. But also I must say that knowing the other two persons who are also awarded the same honor today, that they have for sure been in the game and assisted and worked with Table Tennis Australia a lot longer than I have myself. So to be even considered with those two persons, it's really, really a wonderful and great honor. For myself, I try to look back and think at the things that I've helped with table tennis in Australia, and it's probably sometimes hard to see for those of us that work behind the computers and behind the desks day to day on trying to help the sport. Of course, it's easier to see clearly the players who have the results, who win the medals, and so forth. But for us who tirelessly work behind the scenes, we do try our best to grow the sport, develop the platform, and make the sport better overall. And I tried to look back at the things where I've helped Australia as much as I can. And I remember as a young guy moving from Albury-Wodonga to Melbourne to help the Australian team prepare for the 2000 Sydney Olympics. That was really a special moment for me, where I could work with some of the best players in Australia, preparing for such an important event. At that time, I also remember that Australia had a pro tour held at Albert Park in Melbourne, and the world's best players would come. And I remember, the likes of Waldner and Gatien and the Chinese team at the time, Kong Ling Hui and Liu Guoliang and so forth, all heading down to Melbourne to play in the pro tour. And I guess when I had the chance now in my role at the International Federation, I've really been happy that in the last few years we could get some of these top players back to Australia and help bring the Australian Open to life in the last few years. And we had the Geelong events in the last couple of years. Prior to that, we were further north in the Gold Coast, Tweed Heads at one stage, I remember. And being able to help bring the major international events to Australia, I believe, has been a proud thing from my side. When I go back, even as a younger guy, looking back when I was Oceania Development Officer, helping some of the Australian talents to be able to go overseas and participate with scholarships and training and so forth, that was also a great memory. And I think one of the other really nice memories I have was actually working with Scott Houston, yourself, Scott, when you were Oceania Development Officer, and we put together the Oceania Cup at that time. And the Oceania Cup, it was the first time that we had major prize money. It was the first time that we had TV production, and being able to see some of the players in Australia and that region have something decent to fight for the first time was also a proud moment. Of course, I have to say thank you to a lot of people. And first and foremost, as I already mentioned, Table Tennis Australia, thank you so much for offering me this honor. It's really a proud moment. Going back, I of course want to thank my parents. My father is the person who got me into table tennis in the first place, back in Albury-Wodonga, and without him, I probably wouldn't be here. But my mother also, who pushed me to make sure that I finished my my university studies in marketing and business. Probably these two things have really helped me to get where I am and to be able to assist to make things happen in the future and in the past. There's one particular person in Albury-Wodonga I'd also like to say a hello to, and that's Bill Mitchell. Not many of you would know Bill, but he was really important person in my early career in Albury-Wodonga. He was the one that got us to believe that we could actually compete at a higher level, helped us to move into a permanent center down there and do our training, and he gave us a lot of encouragement. Soon after, when I went to Table Tennis Australia, of course, a huge thanks to Glenn Tepper, Alex Jakubczak. They first took me under their wings with the national coach back then, Jerzy Grzyzyn from Poland. When I was scholarship coach for TTA, they taught me a lot. I soon moved over to Adelaide, and I must have a huge shout out to Mr. John Matavinovich. He was very, very instrumental in grounding and teaching me the skills of life at that age when you're transitioning from, let's say, a teenager to a man. And he really was a great mentor for me in those early days. And then in ITTF, I have to say, a huge thanks to Glenn Tepper again. He was an amazing teacher in the first years that I had, not only at Oceania, but also at the ITTF. Neil Harwood and Patrick Gilman, when they were the presidents of Oceania Table Tennis Federation in those days, their support was greatly appreciated. At the ITTF, I can't, say enough thanks to Mr. Anders Thunström, who was from Sweden, helped us in the marketing for many years in the early days. Of course, when I was first starting, the president at the time of the ITTF, Mr. Adam Sharara, a lot of advice, a lot of understanding on how the things went internationally. Recently, it's President Mr. Weikart, Thomas Weikart. He's believed in me to help operate and to make so many things happen in recent years. And really, there's so many people at the moment that are helping us and supporting us to try and make table tennis to be fantastic for the future. And people on our executive committee, like our Qatari deputy president, Khalil El Mahanadi, Bruce Burton, Petra Serling. I don't want to go through all the names. They know who they are, but they really support us on a day-to-day basis. And with their support, we can, do some of these big projects that also, I believe, have benefit for Australia. Actually, today I'm sitting in China. Been a really difficult year, 2020. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the Australian Open up and running this year, but like most of the events worldwide, we've had to postpone them. It's been really tough for all of us. It's been really complicated to try and make things happen. Fortunately, in a couple of days, or maybe by the time you're hearing this, we've already restarted the international events again. And look, it's really important that we get the table tennis international events up and running, and we hope that you watch them and view them and appreciate them also in Australia. We know there's a lot of fans there, and we hope that our work to try and get table tennis restarted on the international level is appreciated. More importantly, I believe I'm still young enough and energetic enough to help table tennis. I hope, receiving this honor doesn't mean it's the end of my career, and I still have a long way to go. And I'm really ready to help table tennis in Australia more in the future. I really believe in that saying that you shouldn't forget where you came from. And I've tried to implement that, even if I'm now working at the international level and not at the Australian level or the regional level, by bringing the events there, speaking often with your CEO on how we could, with Scott, on how we could try to make even more things happen for the future. Hopefully one day a World Championships in Australia would be an amazing kind of thing to make happen for the sport in Australia. And we really hope that we could do that in the next, say, decade or so. If we can help talented players or, with scholarships or training opportunities in the future, or simply just advice where we can and where I can support, if it's from a commercial opportunities, if it's having international opportunities, or so forth, I really hope I can give even more in the future to the sport in Australia, because it's basically what helped me to get where I am at the moment as CEO of the International Federation, and I will never forget that, and I really look forward to doing what I can. So just very quickly, thanks again, and it's really an honor for me to have this Hall of Fame inductee award, something that I never really expected, especially at such an early stage, but to be honored at the moment, I'm really happy, and I really appreciate it. And I hope that, to be honest, I can do much more for the sport in the future as well. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to catching up in person with everyone in the future, and not just on these video calls, but in the table tennis venue, and talking about how we can help develop the sport even more in the future. Thanks a lot.